Urgent! Day Bears fan, look at what just happened. Nobody saw this coming, huh? But first, make sure to subscribe to the channel because we bring you daily videos with the latest your team news, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you don't miss anything Chicago Bears 2025 NFL Draft, Shamar Stewart or Nick Scorton. Taylor Dahl talks with Tony Catalina, Texas AM beat reporter for the Austin American-Statesman. On her latest Making Monsters podcast, Taylor Dahl is joined by Tony Catalina, Texas AM beat reporter for the Austin American-Statesman. They discuss the top Aggies available in the 2025 NFL Draft, including two players the Chicago Bears could be interested in: defensive ends Nick Scorton and Shamar Stewart. The athletically gifted Stewart seemed to rank a little higher on most analysts' boards, but Scorton has been getting more buzz of late. Either of these two would fill a need for the Bears at defensive end, but Scorton may be a better value if he's there in the second round. On the football field, he was a guy who was high effort, Catalina said about Scorton. Like you said, sometimes the stat sheet isn't filled up, but if you pop on the film, you can see this is a guy who works hard in the backfield. He plays really tough in the run game. He's somebody that they offenses had to scheme for and prepare for, has a tough guy. I think they both, Scorton and Stewart, understand how to set offensive linemen up. And it's going to be about, honing that craft. They're going to get in with a great defensive line coach, wherever it may be, a D coordinator that kind of uses them in the right spots, tells them what is a good counter move. You're trying to draft traits, right? You're trying to draft somebody who looks like he can play the part, who has some production. I think both of these guys honestly have the ability to do that. Pausing this news just to say that if you want YouTube to keep recommending the latest, the monsters of the Midway News to you, it's very important that you leave a like on this video. Thanks. Now let's get back to the news. Bears trade Idea lands. 16 TD RB to boost Caleb Williams. DeAndre Swift is coming off the worst season of his NFL career. The Chicago Bears running back averaged 3.8 yards per carry in 2024. He could be a trade candidate after June 1st to save some cap room, writes Pro Football Network's Sterling Z. In his stead, Z writes the Bears should try to trade for Bills star James Cook. Cook is pretty much the only Bills star eligible for an extension this offseason who hasn't gotten one. Earlier in the offseason, he proclaimed he wanted a $15 million per year deal. Apparently, the Bills weren't all that interested in that price. Z doesn't spell out any reasoning for Cook in Chicago beyond the fact that the Bears will then need someone to replace Swift. Cook would definitely be an upgrade. He's coming off back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, and he ran for an NFL best 16 TDs in 2024. Buffalo already has a replacement build in for Cook on its roster in second-year RB Ray Davis, so it's a logical deal from the Bills' side of the equation. With new coach Ben Johnson in town, the Bears should be doing everything they can to maximize his time with second-year QB Caleb Williams. Williams could certainly use a superstar running back, and Cook might just be that guy. Seems Bears' plans for Rome Odunze are bigger than there. Letting on the Chicago Bears' success in 2025 doesn't just hinge on adding more quality players to the roster. It must involve getting more out of the players they already have. That is why head coach Ben Johnson and his staff were brought in. Getting the most out of the young guys in the lineup is critical to any success this season and beyond. Everybody talks about Caleb Williams for obvious reasons. However, it is equally true of Rome Odunze. The team believes the young wide receiver has limitless potential. Helping it blossom is crucial to any future success. Developing receivers has always been challenging for the Bears. Few of their higher draft picks over the years have panned out. Curtis Conway and Alshon Jeffrey are the two most prevalent. Yet for their successes, you also see David Terrell, Kevin White, and Anthony Miller. Odunze had a solid first year with over 700 yards. Now, his new position coach, Antoine Randall, believes it's time to take that next step. One of the staff's plans is to utilize him in several different ways. "We can get him the ball in a lot of different ways," Randall said, his eyes widening. "I see him being used in a lot of ways. A lot of times you see him catching these screens, but he can run routes. He can move inside and do different things too." I am excited about that. Randall is a big fan of Rome Odunze. He admitted to the Bears media that he was jealous when Chicago drafted the Washington standout last year. As the Detroit Lions wide receivers coach, he was tasked with evaluating and ranking the best players at the position in the draft. While most people believe Marvin Harrison Jr. or Malik Nabers were the one options in the class, Randall L. felt it was Odunze. That is probably because he saw so much of himself in the Bears youngster: tough, physical, detailed, versatile, and competitive. It is why Randall L. carved out such a successful career in the NFL, winning a Super Bowl in 2005. One thing is certain: Rome Odunze is in good hands. Randall L. has a growing reputation for developing young wide receivers into studs. In 2019, he helped Chris Godwin blossom into a Pro Bowler with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 2 years later, upon arriving in Detroit, he oversaw the ascents of Amon-Ra, St. Brown, and Jameson Williams. Odunze is as or more capable than all of those players. If he's ready to work, 2025 could be a breakout season for him. Chicago Bears starters in danger of being benched for a rookie in 2025. Looking at the realm of possibilities for the Chicago Bears early on in the 2025 NFL Draft, Ryan Poles could go one of several directions. If we're specifically talking at pick 10, a lot of fans have been Allen on players like Ashton Jeanty and Will Campbell, assuming they last that long. If either of those players are selected at 10, it's pretty easy to see some of the ripple effects. Speaking of Campbell, in particular, his selection would instantly put someone like Braxton Jones in jeopardy. The Bears using a top 10 pick on an offensive tackle while already boasting Darnell Wright firmly locked into the right tackle position would be a major cause for concern. From Jones' point of view, even if Chicago doesn't go with Campbell at 10, the general thought is that they will end up with an offensive lineman, particularly a tackle, within the first 4 picks made, which all come between day 1 and day 2. Jones isn't going to feel safe unless the Bears head into day 3 having not taken an offensive tackle, and even then, there is always potential for change. Jones is going into a contract year too, which is already reason enough for him to be on alert. Other than Jones, though, the Bears have a couple of other players who might see themselves replaced early on in the draft. DeAndre Swift could lose his job altogether, or worse, following the NFL draft. DeAndre Swift is another player who should be sweating. The Bears' running back room is far from finished. Not only is Swift someone who could lose his job to a rookie, but he's not even guaranteed to be on the roster come week 1. We've talked about this at length already, but Chicago can still save money by cutting Swift. Financially, the Bears are anything but committed to him. If the Bears wind up with a running back on day 1 or day 2, that would firmly put Swift in a difficult spot. A lot of fans love running backs like Tre'Veyon Henderson, Quinshon Judkins, or Caleb Johnson. The familiarity is there too, with the 3 of them all coming from the Big Ten. The Bears could end up with one of 5 or 6 running backs, and if they do, Swift will be anything but confident going forward. Finally, the Bears signed Olamide Zaccheaus as their presumed 3rd wide receiver this offseason. He brings savviness of a veteran, and if the Bears end up using him at that WR3 spot, he's a good fit. But the talent for day 2 wide receivers is sky high. There is potential for Chicago to end up with someone like Jalen Royals, Alec Ayomanor, Savion Williams, or Torrey Horton, among others. If Poles uses one of his 4 picks in the top 72 on a wide receiver, Zaccheaus should immediately feel uneasy. NFL analyst makes surprising claim about Bears' first-round draft plans. Not sure we've heard this one yet. So far, the only tight end the Bears have really been seriously connected to in the pre-draft process is Tyler Warren. He's widely considered the best tight end available this year, and if the Bears aren't going to land Ashton Jeanty or Will Campbell, they can do a lot worse than Warren. But scary noises, what if Warren isn't on the board? There's a terrifying world where Warren, Jeanty, and Campbell are all gone by the time the league gets to the Bears, which puts them in a bit of a pickle. Does that become a trade-down situation? What's the Bears' contingency plan if literally everyone we've talked about for the last 6 months is gone when it's time to, actually draft one of them? According to the Ringer's draft guy Todd McShay, another tight end could be in play. On a recent podcast he did this week, McShay dropped a tiny little bit of reporting about what the Bears' mindset could be. Bears could be eyeing Colston Loveland with their first-round pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. I'm also hearing if Warren goes 7, Loveland could go 10 to Chicago, McShay said. Call me in October when your young quarterback, who had all that trouble last year, has a new coach that can cook up some schemes in the lab and utilize those tight ends, McShay said. Now we are in 12 personnel, now we are a headache. Well then, it'd be hard to complain about this, though I'm sure Bears fans will find a way. Loveland's been one of the fastest rising draft prospects over the past couple weeks, and the way that McShay talked about him and the Bears' offense was admittedly intriguing. So, who knows? Maybe the Bears do end up taking Loveland, or maybe Warren's still there at 10 and none of this matters. The best part? We'll actually get to find out what happens this week, and then we don't have to worry about this ever again. We'll finally know peace for like 3 weeks before those 2026 mocks start showing up. And now, Da Bears fan, I want to hear from you. What's your opinion on this? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I don't know if you know this, but your opinion matters a lot for Da Bears. He'll be back any moment with more of the monsters of the Midway news.